This is 4 things which we're going to talk during this presentation. So principles, cost categories, general planning, advice, and recommendations. So as we already started, so you can rely on 80% of program co-financing, up to 10%. You could apply for national co-financing, but this is separate possibility, and it should be done only after approval of the project. Program do not provide advance payments, so it's have to be financed for your own partner resources. Difference from previous period, the VAT is eligible. You don't have to worry about that. So all costs could be reported and also planned with VAT. And you should apply sound financial management principles, which include economy, efficiency, effectiveness. Please read more about it in our manual, but generally it would be that there should be a ratio between the resources employed and achieved results. So pretty much value per money. So whatever you do, it should be efficient comparing to the results you provide. Another important thing is project partners should have their own bank account, because only costs which are paid by project partner could be eligible. And this is very important. Therefore, I made even separate slide for it. But because even in first call, we came back to this, because even for approved projects, project partners who thought they could make payments suddenly change their mind and find out that their payments are formally done by another institution. So this is pretty much main eligibility thing which we are seeing as a potential risk. So you have to be able, so institutions which are formally project partners should be able to also make payments. And this should be clear from beginning, because that would actually change your potential partnership structure in case if it's not possible. What else is important? You cannot subcontract project partners, so you cannot buy services from them or even hire employees of project partners. Of course, there should not be any conflict of interest. There should be no double financing with another programs and other projects. Also, there is no possibility to use tools such as cost sharing or in-kind costs. There's also formal list of ineligible activities. Some of them are stated here in the slide, but full list could be found in program manual section 3.5. So there are some restrictions. So you cannot, for instance, build roads. You should not buy luxury goods. Technical documentation for the construction works are not considered eligible. And some other things. Now we can start to talk about cost categories. Cost categories, or it's used to call budget lines. It's the same thing. So these are five, not five actually, together there are six cost categories which we have now. 3 of them, last 3 are considered direct costs, and the first 3 are simplified cost options. So let's start with preparation costs. In addition to all those six cost categories, you have possibility to plan preparation cost, which will be added on the top of your allowed budget, in case if you foresee them, and include an application form. It will be paid during first reporting period. So at the planning stage, you just have to plan this amount and divide it between partners if it's necessary. Then it's cost category number 1, staff costs. You have 2 options. There's a flat rate method, which is 15% of real costs. This is automatic possibility. So whatever cost you spend in cost categories, external expertise, equipment, or infrastructure will be multiplied by 50%, and that should cover your costs of your personnel. You also have a possibility to use standard scale of unit costs. But it is, we will talk in details in the next slides. Things to understand right away, you have to choose one method, and you cannot change it during the project lifetime. But each partner, even in one project, can choose different methods. About flat rate. So, like I just said, it's pretty much 15% of eligible real costs. It's calculated automatically. Right here, you can see how it's done in application form. So you just have to click the staff cost flat rate, and that's it. You don't have to add any information. It will be multiplied by amount by 15% and foreseen in your project. If your budget is less than 200,000 euros, then it's a mandatory option. You cannot choose another possibility. What you have to understand during this method is that in case you choose it, you cannot also foresee any costs which are related to the staff, as for instance, external project management costs or accountant costs in another cost categories. If you choose this rate, this 15% should cover those costs. I strongly recommend to use this option because this is the simplest one. So there will be no question. You do not have to provide any proof of your payments. This percentage could even, in some cases, could be bigger than your actual costs. In some cases, it could be opposite. It will be less than your actual cost for project management. But overall, considering that there are no reporting issues, you don't have to provide any supporting documents. This is the most efficient way how to reimburse the staff costs. And the most project partners also are choosing this method. There are some cases when this method maybe is not suitable, but this is a minority of situation. So another possibility is to use standard unit costs. For our program, it's 17 euros per hour. And also it's a simplification. So you don't have to prove any of your actual rates or remuneration rate for existing personnel. It's just you report the hours and it's multiplied by 17 euros. This is for all positions. It's the same. It's regardless of duties which are implemented. So it could be that again your actual cost could be higher or lower, but the rate do not change. This also includes all taxes. So this is not the amount which person receive on hand. You have to understand that this is the amount which is reimbursed to the institution. So therefore, it's of course it could differ from whatever person receives. Yeah, and it is meant as effective hours. So it means that it's when you're reporting it, you can report only productive hours. You cannot report any vacations, sick leaves, or something like that. There's also some limitation. So if you use this method, and this is only for specific cases when you're probably doing some big researches or something like that, then it's considered relevant. Then there's limitation how many hours you can report. Because the specific of this method, so this limitation is 1,720 hours per year. And per 6-month reporting period, so it should not be more than 860 hours. Again, just for your understanding, I will try to explain this. This amount of hours is smaller than typical amount of hours in a given year. For instance, if we calculate very simplistically, so it would be 160 hours per year. It's a little bit more than this 1,720 hours per year. What I'm trying to say here is that in institution, person will have to work more than it's allowed to report here. This difference arises actually because this rate includes already compensation for your vacations, sick leaves, and things like that. So yeah, this is important for you to understand that this is not the same. You cannot, if for instance, if person works full time, it doesn't mean that all reported worked hours in institution could be reported. In reality, it will be less because of this limitation. Also, for you to understand, like right here is example of calculation. For instance, if person works 50% of workload, so typical situation, just for sake of example, would be that would be considered as 80 hours. But if we divide allowed annual hours by 12 months, you can get that per month is planned only 143 hours. And if we divide it by 2 or 50% workload, amount is not 80 hours, but 71. At planning stage, this is why it's important. It's because for you to understand that how much money you could receive back. You can foresee those approximate hours which you foresee. This is fine, but in case that you wanna calculate, and you will right away you will get how many hours how much money you will get back, because you whatever hours are foreseen, you multiply it by 70 euros. But if you want to understand how much of this money you can reimburse to the person, then you can use this calculation. What kind of documents will be needed? So, of course, you have to confirm and submit the work agreement and timesheets. There are specific cases when timesheets are, you have to submit only simplified timesheets. So for project management activities as lead partner project management, for project partner project management, there are a specific number of hours for which we're not going to require timesheets with specified activities, whatever has been done during that period. And also it's for financial managers. So there are limits for those hours. If you foresee this amount of hours, then we will not expect you to report regular timesheets, so you don't have to state whatever was specifically done by each hour. In case of another position, that will still have to be submitted. For these 3 positions, instead of that, you will still submit a timesheet only stating number of hours, and then at the end of reporting period, you will provide summary of achieved results. This is how look how it's gonna look in application form in GEMS. So if you choose this unit rate, you don't choose section staff costs for flat rate, but you have to fill each row for each potential position which you have. So in comments, you provide expected duties, and you just state number of hours, and it will be automatically multiplied by this amount. You have to state number of hours in each period. But specific thing, just from experience from the first call, you cannot provide total amount of all your employees. If those positions are different, for instance, project manager, researcher, financial manager, each of them must have their own position in the budget. That was it about staff cost. Now we can talk about administration costs. So administration costs also are flat rate, so it's 15% from direct costs, from the staff costs. So whatever amount was planned for the staff costs, 15% of that will also automatically allocated to you for covering project and institutional administration costs. Again, to do it, you just mark it. And actually, this is mandatory. You don't have any other option. So when you choose it, it's calculated automatically. Again, good thing about this is a flat rate, so you will not have to prove any of your costs. It will be just reimbursed to you on this percentage level. Again, it could be that it exceeds your actual costs, and it could be situations that it overcovers them. So what should be covered by this cost? It's office rent, it's office supplies, security, maintenance, IT systems, general accounting. All those things should be covered, and you cannot report them or foresee them in any another cost category, specifically cost category external expertise. Next cost category is travel and accommodation costs. This is also flat rate. So again, it's connected to the staff costs and automatically calculated as 10% of eligible staff costs. The same principle, so you're not going to have to report any real expenditure. Whatever staff costs you will report, or it will be assigned to you, 10% of that also will be reimbursed for covering your travel and accommodation costs. It's important to understand this is meant for your own employees. So this should cover all your travels for all employees which are involved in the project. If you have foreseen some travels for target group, then this is not it. Then you can foresee those costs in cost category external expertise. So whatever is listed in this here, as you can see, so accommodation costs, cost of actual travel, daily allowances, that all is covered by this cost category. Again, like in previous slides, it could be that it's not covered fully, or opposite, it could be that that you don't use it fully. Either way, this is a simplification in order for you not to spend time for reporting all those costs allocated with the travel, and you're not going to ask anything like that, and you can realize that this amount will be reimbursed back to you. So those three cost categories were simplify the cost options, which are mostly automatically calculated. But the next three are real cost options. So now we're going to talk about external expertise. So of course, it's anything which you are, any service which you are purchasing. But in this case, you have to report on it. So whatever you will purchase, you will have to prove that delivery is delivered. You will have to prove procurement. You have to provide invoices, payments. This also applies for the next cost category. So the principles are changed here. What could be covered by this cost category? So all kinds of studies, surveys, for instance, translations, catering costs, costs related to organization of events or seminars, which is important for Lithuanian partners, cost of national control, which is a mandatory thing which should be foreseen for each Lithuanian project partner, and also travel accommodation costs for a target group, as I already stated. Full list of there is actually no full list because we cannot foresee all categories which could be applied here, but any external contract pretty much regarding services should be reported here. But more extensive list and specific rules could be found in program manual in section 7.4. Just another important thing to understand is that you could only report those costs which will be foreseen in this cost category. So for instance, if you didn't foresee costs of catering or costs of organizations of event, it probably cannot be also reported. So when you will report only these items which are foreseen in the project budget will be considered as eligible. So some general rules. Of course, first thing is procurement. You will always have to do procurement according to national legislation. We also expect that because of procurement, this price should be and will be adequate. We suggest that you provide, even in planning stage, you provide breakdown of costs for all foreseen series. If those costs are include some, for instance, if you foreseen some event, so event could consist for maybe 10 or even 15 different kind of costs. So for instance, there is a final event. So that final event consists from rent of premises, some catering costs, some costs of experts, maybe some translation costs. So what we mean as a breakdown. I will go back and show how it looks in application form. When you plan your cost categories, you provide general description, and in comments you can provide breakdown. For instance, if it's a final event, you state final event including accommodation costs, not accommodation, but rent costs. For instance, 500 catering costs. Again, 20 euro by 50 participants, that would be 1,000. 500 translation costs altogether. Foreseen costs are 2,000, but their breakdown is provided in comments. For something not, it's also suggested that you provide commercial offers for provide planned services. Of course, there are some things which are it's for smaller amounts, maybe it's not necessary, but for bigger amounts and complicated cost categories as events, it could be provided. For instance, if you plan to hire experts as speakers, we also foresee that you provide clarifications of those experts which are expected in order to justify the planned cost. You have to, there are some rules which are which state which cannot be foreseen here. So, for instance, cost of artists should not be foreseen here. There are rules for events or catering. So, for instance, lunch are eligible if this event will be six hours at least 6 hours, and dinner are eligible only if its event is more than 1 day. So those all things please take in account already during the planning stage. What is not eligible? So standalone logos or designs for the project. Also, project websites outside the project section in our program website. Promotional materials as gadgets, souvenirs, cups, pens. There could be some exceptions, but this is approach us in sense of you still feel that you need these kind of things. We can talk about it, but generally this is not what we expect as a cost position which foreseen in this cost category. Also important thing, groceries. For instance, we have a lot of cases, comparably a lot of cases when project choose to do catering by themselves. It could be done, but then you have to cover this cost from administrative costs, cost category 2. You cannot just apply checks from the grocery shops about purchased coffee or sugar. Next category would be equipment. Again, similar approach. You provide description of items which you foresee, for instance, computer and some, or if it's a group of things, then you group them together and provide comments what is included. We also expect that you probably will provide some specifications that could be attached as an attachment, or if it's do not take much space, maybe it also could be provided here. Typically, what is considered equipment? It's all kind of office equipment, IT, hardware, software, furniture, even could be some toys for relevant institutions as kindergartens or books. It could be tools or devices, another specific equipment, whatever is foreseen in the project could be applied here. From the last consultation, there was a question if natural dancing costumes could be considered as equipment. Yes, they would be considered as equipment. From yesterday's seminar, I heard the question about cars. Cars also is considered equipment, but only specialized cars are eligible. So you have to prove that it will be specialized. It cannot be a regular car without any modifications, and it also should be proven that it will be it's in line with the in line with the project objective. So only as a means of transportation, it's not going to be considered as a eligible piece of equipment. There is possibility to also buy second-hand equipment, but again, there are specific rules. So there is possibility, but if you consider something like that, you better approach us before planning that. We will discuss efficiency of this. Also, please always keep in mind cross-border relevance of this equipment, because how it contributes to the project objectives. In what sense, how another partner could benefit from equipment which you have. And similarly, like in cost category external expertise, we expect that some general specifications or functionality and also quantity will be specified in relevant sections. Last cost category is cost category 6, infrastructure works. So all kinds of construction works are meant to foresee here. Again, setup is similar to previous direct costs. So you provide description, some comments. Again, there are specific rules. So in order to be financed by our program, a full set of documentation according to the national legislation should be submitted already during our submission process. There should be cost estimates. They should be up to date. Also submitted. So because we will give it to external experts. Important thing, you also have project partner have to be owner of infrastructure which is planned to improve, or they must have a lease agreement or formal relationship on or basis why the partners can use this planned site or building or whatever it will be. Generally, what is allowed, so it's cost of labor, costs of building materials, overall cost of construction. One specific thing about expertise related to construction, for instance, construction expertise should be kept separate and not included here, but in cost category for external expertise. Next topic is budget planning. So if you know general rules of each cost category, there is also some general rules for overall how this our reimbursement process is working. So right here you can see timeline of how this reporting will work. So you spend your own money for each reporting period that is for 6 months. Then you prepare a report, you submit it to us, but it will take some time for controllers to control and for us also to confirm. So you could be reimbursed even up to 11 months from the first expenditure which you spent. It can also be, of course, faster. We will try to do it as faster as we can, but of course, it cannot be before 6 months period. So you spend your money during 6 months period, you prepare a report, you submit to us, and we will try to do our best to reimburse you as fast as possible. Reimbursement is done in 2 stages. So after we receiving your report, we right away pay 70% if everything seems fine. Then we doing clarifications. When those are satisfied, then we pay the rest of the amount, 30%. So just keep this in your mind for planning your financial flow. What else is important? Be realistic about spending delays. I mean, please also keep in mind seasonality of works, for instance, especially if you foresee construction works. We have 6 months reporting periods, and for the second call, we expect that potential starting date could be in next year's March. So this will, so your reporting period could be from, depending of the actual number of projects and how formalities, it could be from March or April, and 6-month period. So that would be from March till October or November. That would be, of course, the reporting period. The next one, again, calculated 6 months. So keep that in mind in the planning. So if you foresee some kind of construction works, most of them are done in summer period. So your spending also should be related to that. Also, just be ready to do your planned activities. For instance, if you want to do this construction right away and use a season, then you should be also prepared for all kinds of preparation works as procurements and things like that. But back to planning stage. So just really think about what could be done and when it could be paid, and accordingly foresee amounts. Also keep logical link between deliverables, delivery dates, and the budget, for instance. So you foresee activities, you foresee some timeline, and please reflect it the same way in the budget. Also, there is a thing like projects tend to extend those deliverables during all lifetime of the project. For instance, it starts in the first period and it ends only in the last. For some activities, it is a relevant approach, but for some it's not. If you foresee, for instance, that it will be done in the first period, there is no need to extend it, and also therefore, please foresee corresponding financing in the relevant reporting period. Why it's so important? Because this is a new program, especially if you participated in previous programs of ours. There are some situations have changed, and there are some different approaches. Because we are affected by the commitment potential, we will pay much more attention to your project planning in sense of reporting periods. Why is that? Because if in case of program is not program actually should be considered as a project. So we also have our budget. We make payments to the project, and if we don't make payments according to our initial plan, some money could be taken away from us. And in case that happens, it also could happen with the projects. So technically, it could affect also projects, but it will affect you only if you are not following your planned spending rate or amounts of the amounts foreseen for periods, for instance. So this is summary of the project budget. You see, for every project, there will be period 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. and there are amounts. And as far as you stick to them, technically project, and if you report similar amounts or close to that, you should be fine in any case, even program has the commitment. So therefore, this planning is more important than in previous calls or in previous program, because there could be bigger consequences. So really, please really take your time and make realistic financial plans when whatever can be spent, and please try to stick to them, and you should be fine, and also program will be fine in that situation. Then general recommendations. What we have, please do not forget about specific budget limits for priorities or specific objectives. So there is different budget limitations for each priorities. There's also some specific rules. For instance, there is a specific rule in priority 1 that you cannot spend more than 20% of planned budget for equipment. So please be careful, read the rules, and do not overreach them. You have to have refinancing for at least 2 periods, because we don't have advance payments. Do not plan costs for services used by another partner. So typical mistakes which we see is, for instance, paying for another partner's accommodation. Each partner has their own budget, they could proceed for themselves. Also, because cost sharing is not allowed, do not buy services like with the idea that you will split the costs. If you're gonna use something commonly with your partners, I would say that it's simpler still to decide which partner will be paying for that, and there could be another common costs which are covered by another partner. But do not you cannot split the invoices, and you should not foresee direct payments for another partner services. Use rounding. So even especially for external expertise, you could have received invoice, for instance, 5,221 euro and 45 cents for planned event. Use rounding to the next tenths. So we don't want to see the cents, and we also don't want not necessarily looking for corresponding exact amount to the foreseen invoice. But there's another side to this. Also, please do not foresee any reserves. For instance, we've seen it in before, like, so projects have an estimate for infrastructure works, for instance, like 10,000, and but in budget they're stating it's 11,000 because they foresee a reserve in case of some things could be more expensive. This is not considered justified. So you could use rounding, but rounding is meant do not use cents, and round it from 2 euros to the 10 euros, yeah, not additional 10%. Please go through all of your activities and check if all costs or all activities which involve costs are reflected in the budget. So another way around, so anything which is included in the budget should be also somehow reflected in deliverables. Market research, commercial offers for cost category, external expertise and equipment. Of course, there should be estimates for cost category infrastructure. Do not forget mandatory communication elements and also foreseen costs for them. It's, for instance, for those posters, plugs, things like that. For Lithuanian partners, remember that you have to foresee national control costs and general breakdown of costs. So if your description of cost categories is rather general, then provide breakdown of costs. I think that would be it. Thank you.